thought, well, that's strange. And I got up to this overlook that was only a mile ahead.
Yeah, right here.
Hang on. Straight down.
Me?
Yeah.
Have you ever had the feeling that they were putting information into your head about the future and about the environment and maybe end of the world situations or something?
I haven't, but I've talked to other people who have, a few, not many, but a few. But I never have. I've never had that to happen. I think whatever group I deal with me in a certain way that's just their way. And I don't think, yeah, I had a lot of things going on the first 3 or 4 years I was investigating, a few years back, and there was one night when things were happening often back then. There was one night when I had this vivid dream, and I don't get those very often, but a very lucid dream. I was standing out somewhere with a couple of people, and I saw some missiles coming down, intercontinental ballistic missiles coming down, and I knew they were armed with nuclear warheads, and apparently we were in a nuclear war all of a sudden. And I watched, and I saw the thing light up, and I knew the blast wave was going to hit me in a few moments. And right when it got to me and I waited, I thought, not to worry, I'll just leave my body. You know, why did I think that? It was all subconscious. You know, why did I think that? Or did I know something? But that's the only time I've ever had that. And it made me more concerned about the, the world and where we may go. Because I've lived all my life under the nuclear threat. I was in the 6th grade during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That was not a good time to be a little kid. It really wasn't. Most people today don't remember, don't know anything about that, but the people who remember it, we were very close to nuclear war, very close. Closer than anybody will ever admit to, probably. And I felt it, but we got through it, and we're still here. But I wouldn't want to go back to those days during the Cold War when it was at its peak. But I've always been more concerned about the world than the average person I knew in daily life. Yes?
In the early to mid-60s, you go ahead and answer one question for me. I know how long you're going for it.
Yeah.
My question is...
I dye my hair.
It's kind of personal, but I would like to know if you had any encounter with the UFO in the mid to late 60s.
Yes. When I was 15 years old, I was working a paper route every day, and I used to pedal my little bicycle all around through this neighborhood, and pretty good sized neighborhood. And I remember one day I'd finished up, and this is in my website, I believe. I'd finished up for the day, and I was still in the neighborhood, and I thought, well, there's a few people I need to go visit, bang on their doors, and collect money for that week, because that's how we, paid our bills. We'd go door to door at the end of the week and collect our money. And there were a few people that still owed me from the previous week. So I was standing right here, straddling my bicycle, and looking at my little collecting books, at the different people's addresses that still hadn't paid yet. And suddenly I just looked down the road. At the end of the road, about a block, there were some houses on both sides and some trees. And suddenly these 3 lights come looming up above the trees, and something's about 100 feet above the trees or so. And whatever it was large because the lights were pretty far apart. They looked like standard size aircraft lights, but they were wide apart. I thought, what is that? But instead of really wondering, and I used to watch airplanes fly all the way across the sky. I was in love with aviation and later got into it, but I used to just love to watch airplanes. And here I was seeing something totally unidentified and come along straight toward me, but off to the side. And it was larger than a dirigible, because I could see the lights. But I looked back down at my collecting book and just played around with it like it's no big deal, which is odd. And then a few moments later, I looked back up to see where the object was, and it was over here, going along slowly. It was almost even with me. 3 lights. And I cocked my head and looked at it because I couldn't see the object. I could see the 3 lights right there, and I know they were all part of one object, but I could not see the object. Again, it reflected no lights off of it. I mean, I had street lights all around. Nothing was bouncing off the hull of that thing. But it was larger than a dirigible. And dirigibles have these loud lawnmower type sounds in their engines, very shrill. There was no noise on this thing at all, nothing. And instead of following it along, looking at it more, I just looked back down at my collecting book. That's not normal behavior for me. And then I decided, I didn't even remember it after that, and I decided I think I'll go home. I was planning on knocking on doors, but suddenly I decided, no, I think I'll go home. I pedaled my bike home, apparently, and the next morning, I mentioned to my mom that I think I saw an unidentified flying object the night before, but I wasn't sure. It's just that I couldn't identify what it was. And she told me that her mother, my grandmother, had seen something a long time ago too, and believed in these things. I didn't know that. And my mom said, but I want to know one thing. Where were you last night? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you came home late last night. And she was one of these people you couldn't get anything over on her at all. She was always awake at any hour of the night. You could sneeze, and she'd know how many times you sneezed at 2 a.m. But she said, you came home late last night. And I said, no, I didn't. I came home early. I remember. And she kind of chuckled and said, no, you didn't. And she normally would stay up late and keep track of everything going on. And I said, well, at least I think I came home early. And I began wondering, why is she insisting I came home late? Well, the way she talked, I came home a couple of hours later than I thought I did. And remember, I'd seen this craft come within 300 feet of me. Anytime you got a UFO that's that close to you, you've probably been abducted. I don't even know it. Because they're not going to get that close to you randomly, not likely. If you've had a very close experience, you've probably been abducted. You may or may not know it. So, but that was my mid-teens. That's the only time during that time period of my life. This is about 1966, give or take a year. Anything else?
Yeah, one back here. Yeah, thank you.
Speak up loudly.
Yes, just by checking some things on my telephone, going to the MUFON website, they have UFO Stalker. They get tweets from all over the world, and they put the main body of the tweet on this, and you can scan through these things, and they get hundreds of these tweets daily. Okay, now MUFON, for a lot of people if you don't know, that's one of these UFO research organizations.
It's basically the most established organization we have.
Sure, right. Now here's
UFOs.
the thing. So anybody that's tweeting them probably knows a little bit something about the phenomenon. Right. But here's the thing. All those reports. Now either somebody, a computer hacker or the Air Force Office of Information, or somebody's created a clever little program that generates these things and sends these out around the clock, or else there's an incredible amount of UFO activity worldwide that simply isn't being reported on the news at all. And of course there's a lot of reports. Even last night there was something like 10 reports of people seeing triangle objects like what you're talking about.
Right. The triangles seem to be more common than the saucers nowadays.
So what do you have you monitored that? Have you observed that? Do you have some opinion or explanation for how all this is? I mean, years ago, there's been a couple of things that have hit the news, like the lights over Arizona. Too many thousands of people saw those.
Right.
But what about all this apparent daily activity all around the world? Twitter, those reports are coming from all over the world. They're not just the United States.
Well, communications is much better and more instantaneous now than it's ever been before, and everybody can just chat with each other all around the world now, so you're going to get more reports. But the activity may not have increased. It just may be that we're starting to become aware of how much activity really is going on. This could have been going on in the 50s and 60s, and we just didn't have good means of communication. But I have a good friend who pays attention to that website, a UFO Stalker, and he swears by that. He loves that too. I haven't had a chance to really check into that very well, but you can't really tell how much activity is going on by the numbers of reports. You just know that people are more willing to report them now than they used to be. I used to talk to people a long time ago and they would ridicule me about the subject. Now they're open to it. I'm running over time, aren't I? Darn it, I do that every time. There's so much to talk about, I guess I'll go ahead and cut it off. The next speaker is here.
Coming back up here.
Always. I love this place. Yeah. Thanks very much. I'll entertain questions until somebody pushes me down the steps. How's that sound?